Hi, welcome to another episode of Nerd Supernova. I am your host, Paul Michaels, and my co-host,
AJ McDermott.
Alrighty. Well, today we're talking about Spider-Man Homecoming. We had to wait for KJ to get around to watching it with his busy schedule. I myself have seen it, I think, 4 times now, which is kind of a record for me as far as like Marvel movies go. Though I do love the first Iron Man, I think I saw first Avengers. Yeah, it's probably been the first Avengers I saw 4 times in like one weekend. That's the last time I like really got obsessed with like a Marvel movie. I do love the Cap films though. I think those are great. So
I want to see the movie again, but I've been really busy this summer, so I haven't had a chance
yeah, well,
to.
I was surprised because I know you saw Deadpool a bunch of times, but next to like Deadpool, your favorite character is pretty much Spider-Man.
Above Deadpool, I like Spider-Man a lot more than Deadpool.
Really?
Well, that's because as a kid, I identified with Spider-Man a lot more than Deadpool. I mean,
That's
as an
fair.
adult, I identify with Deadpool,
Deadpool more.
because of the humor and the sarcasm. But growing up, that's why one of the points I want to make in this movie is that I'm glad that he's a young kid again.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of all the other Spider-Mans, you see him a little bit in high school, but then he's like an adult right away.
Pretty much, yeah.
This one, they kept him a kid. I always liked Spider-Man as a kid because that's the whole point of his character is like the struggles of it.
Well, yeah, and in the comics, he was bitten at age 15. He wasn't like 19 going on 20. Basically, he was a kid. A 1960s kid who wore sweater vests and a full suit for sometimes. But whatever. It was the 60s, so. But yeah, so I said in my initial review when I was just recommending it to friends and stuff, because people are going to ask the question, so you really love the Spider-Man movie? And it's like, yeah, I do. It's like, okay, well, is it better than Spider-Man 2? And I'm like, well, it's hard to compare it because it's kind of like comparing like Batman '89 and Dark Knight. But on that level, like I love both those movies equally, but for totally different reasons.
A lot of people were asking me going to Batman '89.
Well,
I jumping ahead a little bit. We'll go back to Spider-Man, but Michael Keaton.
Yeah.
Michael Keaton as the Vulture was awesome.
Oh yeah.
As a character.
Yeah.
We'll get more on it later, but people kept asking me like, "Oh, what Michael Keaton do you like better, like Batman, the Vulture, or Beetlejuice?" And I was just like, "How can you compare those?"
Yeah.
I'm like, I love all of them equally. He's just a great actor, like the great character.
And it's like comparing Jack Nicholson Joker to Heath Ledger Joker. They're
different,
very different, but they do great things with the character.
Very true.
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll definitely get into Michael Keaton
later.
But sorry. Yeah, so it's like comparing that, and even like I said to just Spider-Man fans, I'm like, it's like comparing classic Stan Lee Spider-Man in the old '60s comics, which were revolutionary, to say like Ultimate Spider-Man. Which was done by Bendis and one of the great modern comic book runs, and like revitalized a lot of the character. And the movie uses elements from both almost equally, and to like great effect. But yeah, as far because we're talking about Michael Keaton and everything else, but like Tom Holland, like honestly, this is the best combination of Peter Parker Spider-Man that I've seen.
Just gonna say that.
Yeah. Like really good. Like I haven't been this captivated by a performance since probably Ben Affleck Batman or Chris Evans as Captain America. Like pitch perfect.
He makes both roles. He does both roles justice.
Exactly.
That's a good way to say
it. Yeah, it's a great balance.
Yeah, whereas sometimes some people can play the superhero better than the alter ego, or vice versa. He does both very well. I liked that a lot.
Yeah. And that's the best thing too is like. You remember how, like, in the old movies, like, it really, like, it went almost right away to, like, J. Jonah Jameson, and that was a great aspect that they took from the comics right away, and then they did the new movies, the amazing ones, and they didn't have, and I say amazing as in the title, not the actual quality. They didn't have J.J. Jameson in it, and you could tell
they turned him down in like an email that was like an Easter egg.
And like you could tell people were missing that character, but I didn't miss him being at the Daily Bugle at all. Like I said, I loved him being in high school.
They can wait for him in the second one or the third one.
Yeah, I guarantee you what's going to happen. My predictions is that they're building up Sinister Six. By the third movie, he's going to have Face of Sinister Six because that's what they're slowly building up to already. It's going to happen. He's going to just beat him by like the skin of his teeth. He's going to graduate high school, and he's going to be like, oh, thank God, like I made it out alive. And then, bam, you're going to get a tease for Harry Osborn and or Norman. And then, the next thing is going to be Goblin. That's what I see happening. I don't know.
Don't do Goblin second.
No.
It would be great if Harry was in the second one, but not Norman.
I think they're going to go old school because in the original comics, he doesn't actually meet Harry until college. He doesn't become friends with Harry until they're college friends. They're college.
It would still be cool if like the application process or like he's.
Oh yeah, like he's part of like the tour, or he's like in the same waiting room or something, like waiting to go do an interview for college. Yeah, that'd be cool. But they're definitely building the Sinister Six. That's what I think their goal is. Also, too, Feige has said on multiple occasions that they want to go in and they want to go into because his rogues gallery is so huge. They want to take advantage of the villains.
I've said it many times to anybody who's ever talked to me.
Yeah,
Batman and Spider-Man have the best
rogues gallery. Yeah,
like their villains are the best.
Yeah, there's a wide number that they could just do. And multiple villains. Sorry, I lost track. The only problem is, as far as Marvel wanting to build all that up, is that Sony is still involved in the sense that
Sony doing their whole Spider-Verse. We should talk about that later.
Yeah, but it's so funny because I remember like a year ago when BVS came out, and I don't know if you remember this, but they had the sad Affleck meme.
Yeah.
Because you had him doing the interview. It's not as widely popular, but they've been doing the sad Kevin Feige meme where he's sitting in an interview and Amy Pascal is just going off like random, like what her random thoughts are for what they could do, and he's just sitting there like he has that like
the smile and nod face.
Yeah, like
he's
I have to deal with this.
Can somebody put a muzzle on it?
Yeah, I have to deal with this just to get Spider-Man in this universe. But okay, I'll work around it. I'll do what I can. And honestly, that's the only thing that's stopping them from making like a solid Spidey, series. I mean, so far this movie was great, and I'm hoping for great things. But you and I want
give it a 9.5 out of 10.
Yeah,
it's a very good movie.
It was a fucking great movie. Okay. Well, we'll get into nitpicks in a sec.
No. Big, major
I really want to get into nitpicks with you because I know you definitely know. Next to like our friend Dan Seversky, you know Spider-Man probably the most, and I wanted you to get into all like the tidbits and stuff because I know who you are. But like you and I both really like Kraven and Mysterio, and aren't they working on solo movies, which makes no sense? It makes no sense.
You know my theory on Mysterio.
Yeah,
I thought it would be fantastic instead of like Vulture for this movie. Imagine Mysterio, Spider-Man, young, still trying to learn his powers, and you have somebody who messes with your senses.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody who, while Peter is still learning his spider sense, which we'll get on that later because they didn't want to have that in the movie.
Yeah.
But he's like learning his powers, he doesn't know what's real, what isn't, and you have somebody whose whole thing is to mess with your senses. It would have been a great first movie. Mysterio as a villain. Mm-hmm. Somebody who's not super strong, super fighting.
He's just very smart when it comes to manipulating the environment.
Then it shows Peter being
having to think on he has to think on his feet, like what Spider-Man does. He doesn't
know what he's doing yet. He's still learning. He's still trying to figure out how to be a superhero, and you have somebody messing with you.
Yeah,
that would have been a good movie. I've wanted that for years, which now we'll have to wait for the next reboot.
Yeah, no, I think it's going to be a while before we see that. Hopefully, not knock on wood, but. All right, I want to get on two things majorly because these were two things that I thought, with incorporating into the film, would feel a little bit like ham-fisted in to some extent, and I want to make a point that it really wasn't when it could have easily been, and that was
You're talking Iron Man.
Iron Man, and essentially the movie is confirming almost like every 10 minutes that it is part of the MCU,
yes.
like without even Iron Man, just all of the little hints, but.
They're learning about the Sokovia Accords when he's sitting in class.
Exactly. But that's what I liked about the film because it did it in a way where it wasn't like... It didn't feel like forced.
Yep.
Like they added... Like the fact... Like when you go...
So it's not like Peter hacking into somebody's computer file to see some other character's file with a symbol already made and security fitted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. That's Lex Luthor. That's a whole nother topic. I know. You love making fun of that scene. Okay. But... Yeah, no. Instead, the gym teacher puts in a tape, and it's Captain America.
Yep.
And then he's a war criminal, but I'm sanctioned by the state to put this in at every.
I don't care. Just watch the video.
Pretty much. So okay, I want to talk to you because I know you don't know Ultimate Spider-Man that well. The friend of his, Ned.
Mm-hmm.
Are you familiar with Genki in the comics? Do you know who that
No.
is? Okay,
When
so
you say Genki, I think of Arrested Development.
no. So there is a character called Genki. I assume that you're familiar with the character of Miles Morales.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, come on.
Well,
Give me that much.
I don't know how much Miles Morales you've actually read, because if you did,
I know who he is, but I have not read his comic books.
okay. So when Bendis had to take it over, and he had done the whole thing, but when he had to go and start from Peter Parker dying in the Ultimate Universe, he gave it to another Spider-Man, Miles Morales. Miles has a friend called Genki, who is essentially what Ned is in this movie.
Okay.
Now, I don't know if they didn't want to pay Bendis money for a character that he created, and seeing as he's very vital to a lot of the modern Marvel stuff, next to like Mark Miller and a bunch of other guys, but they gave him the name of Ned Leeds. And it's really hilarious because like a few weeks after that was official, and that was basically, this is Ned Leeds, later in the comic, Genki is a character and he's talking to another girl, but he won't reveal his name, so he makes up one.
And he says Ned Leeds.
Or she says, "What is your name?" And he's like, "Ned." And she looks at him and she says, "You don't look like a Ned." And like that was Bendis basically winking at Marvel Studios, like, "Okay, you're not going to pay me, but that's fine."
Well, at least they're being playful about it instead of lawsuits.
Yeah, that's true. Well, Bendis,
Not yet.
I assume Bendis still gets paid pretty decently by Marvel. But anyway, the Miles comics, one of the greatest aspects is the friendship that he has with Genki, and they basically just decided to do that with this movie, except it's Peter Parker and Ned Leeds, which is kind of interesting too, because I think, in a lot of the earlier comics, he doesn't really have like a friend, like an actual stable friend until like college, because he mostly has like Aunt May. He has kids that he interacts with or interacts off of, but not like in a friendship capacity. And even in the Ultimate comics, he was mostly friends with MJ before they became like an official couple in the books in that universe. So I like that aspect of them doing it. I'm wondering what they're going to do when they get to Miles, because that's obviously referenced. If a lot of you,
with Prowler talking about his nephew
And
being in the same neighborhood, and he's like, "My neighborhood's here." Oh,
yeah.
Well, I forget his real name.
Donald Glover.
Well, I was saying the character, the actor.
Aaron
The
Davis.
actor plays him.
Yeah,
the
Donald.
guy, like the small time crook who's trying to buy.
Yeah, that's Donald Glover playing Aaron Davis, aka the Prowler. Yeah.
Which I thought was hilarious when they're talking about. Oh yeah, we've also got like climber grip things.
And he was like,
And he's
climbing
like,
thing.
"Oh, what are those things?"
Yeah.
And I was just like, "Oh, that's cute."
Yeah.
Like, which goes over most of the movie theaters.
But what I like is that they don't show him. They make it a vague, so he could be any age. He could literally be like a 2-year-old right now. So you don't, not, because people were like, "Oh yeah, I've heard rumors that they're gonna go right into Miles," and I'm like, "No, they're not." Like Tom Holland.
A lot of people on the forums and everybody like thought that. Even when Glover there was cast, they thought that he was going to be Miles, and I was like,
well, because
no.
that's because he voiced Miles in the cartoon. Yeah. So
They
again,
automatically
making another
thought,
reference.
like immediately, and I was like, they're not going to do that. Like,
No.
if anything, they're going to save him for later when Tom Holland backs out.
See me. I thought for a long time that he was actually going to be the Tinkerer, which is
That's another one that
that's who the guy is in the movie who's always talking to the Vulture and making the Vulture suit and everything. But
the nerdy guy at the desk that is never actually called the Tinkerer is the Tinkerer.
Mm-hmm. I was very happy with. I mean, I think just about every villain aspect in this movie was done right.
There was one thing that was missing. The leaked photos of Shocker in the full Shocker suit.
I did notice that because
was not in the movie.
Because
those photos were leaked with him in like the yellow mask and everything.
There wasn't a full costume.
He never wears the full costume. And he never wears the 2 gloves. He only has the one.
Yeah, maybe they thought it was too much too fast. So maybe
it's a deleted scene that they got rid of.
It could very well be. But I honestly see him having a full costume by the next movie. So let's go over this because.
Well, he's also another villain that kind of got away.
Mm-hmm.
You see him fighting him.
Yeah, both him and the Tinkerer, I think, got away. I mean, I think he got put up on the school bus, so it's hard to say if he got away or not. But
if no cops came in 2 hours, he's free man.
Yeah, very true. Here's the thing, though. So you have the Shocker, you have the Tinkerer, you have the Prowler, and you have the Vulture. Pretty much all of them.
They didn't overdo it.
They didn't overdo it.
Thing.
They made Vulture the prime focus.
It wasn't oversaturated like Spider-Man 3.
Mm-hmm. Or Amazing Spider-Man 2 or
Yeah.
anything pretty much. But yeah, like they did very good world building because I think what they're doing is they want to do Sinister Six, but they don't want to like get there so fast. They want to literally set up that they're going to form the team probably by the end of the
A
second
little
film.
bit of spider foreplay.
Yeah. They're going to set up the team by the end of the second film, and then the third film is going to be the actual Sinister Six, attacking him from all sides, and everything he's been doing for the last two films is going to get shoved in his face, basically. Probably when he's hanging out with a girl or whatever. So let's get on to nitpicks, because I know right away your major big one, the big one that you're
What
going
do you think it is?
I think it's MJ. Would I be
It's MJ? No. My major nitpick was the suit.
Really?
The suit.
Why the suit?
I didn't
Oh!
like that it was like an automated suit that was like talking to him, doing all this stuff, and he had like the chest like drone thingy. I get it; it's a suit that Iron Man, Tony Stark
Mhm.
made for him, but I was not expecting I was expecting the camera eyes.
Here's
Because the camera eyes make sense to make him emote through the eyes and have them move, but with the voice in the suit and controlling like the web shooters
I didn't.
and all that other stuff, I was like, okay, like I get Tony Stark made him a suit, but I didn't want to. It was
Here's-
too close to Iron Spider without
No.
being Iron Spider.
Well, you even see Iron Spider.
You do at the end,
yeah,
but
yeah.
it's still. What else is he gonna upgrade?
So,
what did he upgrade? Like the
here's-
color scheme for the
here-
Iron Spider suit?
Here's the thing. So, essentially, they might have written themselves into a corner. I don't know. We have to see how the sequel plays out. But I see two things. They made that device, or they made the suit in that sense. Now, granted, it's not so the way it is in the old movies or how it is essentially in the comics. So that's a bit of a hindrance. But they essentially made it that way so that when he gets it taken away from him, it means
more
so much.
him doing it.
When he's just in his Ben Reilly
I
outfit.
get how it works in the movie.
No,
with
no,
that
no,
type of, like,
I
storyline
understand.
and context, but I was just.
Well, my thing is,
it's the cute scene when he's there stuck in like the hangar trying to figure it out, and he's doing
I like that though.
that little montage. He's like, "Oh, how long is it?" It's been like 28 minutes. He's like, "Oh, come on!" Like
But see,
that was funny.
but I liked it though. So my thing is, he overdid it with the suit, right? And Tony took it away, and then Tony gave it back. Tony already knows that Peter was smart enough to hack the suit. Not only hack it, get rid of the tracer, and then hack it more so that he could get all
Take
of
off the training wheels.
Yeah. So my question is, which again I don't know what they're going to do with the sequel. My question is, we know how Tony works. Are you telling me that he's going to give Peter Parker it fully back with all of those things active? Or do you think he took all of it away?
Some of it.
Yeah, disabled. Well, I mean, to a point where he might have just taken it all off and left him with like the basic program again. Because again, he's saying, "Hey, I trust you to have it back now, but I'm still taking away the big, advanced
Yeah, true,
500
maybe.
532 different variations of the web shooters." I don't know. And then there's also the fact too that we don't even know what he's going to do during Infinity War, because that's the next movie with him in it.
You see the leak picture?
I know he's probably going to be wearing the Iron Spider
He is.
suit. Yeah, I figured as much. That doesn't shock me. But honestly, we're forgetting the bigger question. The real thing that's going to be the biggest, I think, hurdle for them to get over storytelling wise is the way the movie ends.
Aunt May. That was gonna be my next point.
Yeah.
If you didn't bring it up, I hated it.
Um.
I mean,
Here's me. Okay. Well, hold on. I want.
Before you
All right.
you
You're all right. You are more of a Spider-Man fan. So.
Aunt May. Throughout the comic books, eventually she learns it. Eventually. It's hinted at multiple times in
That she may
different
know.
ways that she may know. She has an inkling. She's not an idiot about it.
Yeah.
Like, even in the Tobey Maguire or the Amazing Spider-Man movies, you get a sense that she knows what's going on, and she tries to get him to tell her.
Yeah.
She tries to be like, oh, in the Tobey Maguire ones, it's like, oh, it's a lot more violent with that Spider-Man guy not around. Like,
Yeah.
things were better when he was here. Like, you should do it again. Like, come on. Or anytime in the Amazing Spider-Man one when they're joking about him doing laundry and it comes out blue and red, like, You
Yeah.
get the feeling that she kind of knows,
But she won't
she's
say
waiting
anything.
for him to say it.
Yeah.
In this one, especially in the first movie, at the end when she just sees it right away,
Mm-hmm.
it takes a lot of like the fun out of that.
Yeah. Okay. So there's two things. Because I was trying to remember the exact thing, because I know Feige talked about this.
They had to do that scene a lot of time, like multiple times, because she kept saying it, and they kept before they could cut off with her like, "What the fuck?" Like she actually just kept saying the line, and they had to do it multiple takes to get it right.
Okay. Well,
Sorry.
it's still funny because I love Marissa Tomei, but Feige talked about this because he loved that Aunt May, you know. Well, so it's funny too because they did it more or less the same time when both the Ultimate run and the main run were going. They had the reveal happen around the same time. In the regular universe, before it got retconned or something, because this is before One More Day, but let's not go into that. Aunt May finds the costume in the laundry.
Mm-hmm.
And then they have a nice talk about it pretty much. And she says, "Oh, I knew for years, but you never got around to telling me." And they have a good conversation about it. I have never actually read that comic, but that's what I essentially got from what I've heard from fans and forums and whatnot. In the Ultimate, it was actually much more dark. Not that like anyone was hurt or anything, but like shit goes down like really bad to the point like where like Shield knows who Peter is and like all this stuff, and they bring in Aunt May, and she's like, "What the hell is going on? Like, someone tell me something." And eventually they have to break it to her, or like Peter has to break it to her, and she's like distraught and angry, and then eventually she comes to her senses. But it's much more like Peter has to be forced to basically tell her, and you could even argue the same point for the main story. So my only nitpick with that is the fact that they kind of sidestep that by just having Peter be an idiot and her walking in on him and stuff.
That's the other thing I was going to say.
Yeah.
So many times he was so careful about sneaking back in.
Yeah.
And closing the door, crawling on the ceiling, and being quiet. And then this one, he's just standing there in his room and takes the mask off. And it's just like, with the door open. It's like...
Yeah.
Alright, dude.
Well, here's the thing. I try not to judge too harshly whenever someone makes like a first movie where they're very young in their careers, where they're kind of allowed to make those big dumb mistakes.
Yeah.
If it was like the third or fourth movie and that's how she found out, I might have been more annoyed at that because I'm like, dude, you've been doing this for like what, like 5 or 6 years now. You really? That would have annoyed me more. Whereas this one, he's only been probably doing it for probably less than a year. So my question is how they're going to keep it going at this point with that aspect in, with her knowing, because she's not going to let him go.
No.
And I'm wondering to what extent. I'm wondering too if the Avengers are just going to have to come and kidnap him like every couple of months to bring him to do a big event and then throw him back in.
Going to just pay her off.
He might. Who knows, man? It's hard to say. But yeah, that threw me off. But I mean,
talking about Aunt May.
Yeah.
I hated that they kept the Marissa Tomei being sexy joke going.
That didn't bother me because no.
Beating a dead horse.
Okay, I get that.
One joke would have been funny. Then there was a second. Then there was a third. And then there was a fourth.
Hold on, because I've seen the movie 4 times, so there was
at least 3 that I remember.
There was the Tony Stark in the car making the joke about her wearing something sexy. There was the Spanish guy in the deli store.
Yeah, and there was the free food at the Chinese place.
Yeah. Was there any more than that?
I don't know if there was another more.
I think there was just 3.
But it was still...
It would bother me. It would bother me if... I think they kind of count that we love Marissa Tomei and we would make those jokes. Or, so maybe that's why it doesn't bother me that much. But I want to see who they get to play Uncle Ben.
There's a difference between making a joke about it and calling too much attention to it.
I mean,
so it's like yes,
I think
she's a younger,
sexier
Aunt May.
Would you argue that they do it because fans made such a big deal about it, and so they just are trying to just make it a point?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is like one joke. If Tony Stark said it again, like, "Oh, she's gonna wear something sexy," that would be like, "All right, cool. Tony Stark is that kind of a guy to make that joke. Whatever."
Right.
That would have been fine.
But
it's still calling attention.
They work
to the
it in. They work it in.
Calling attention to the fact that Marissa Tomei.
But the way that they
young.
work it in with the humor, though, I don't feel like they overdid it because they still do it slyly. Like the Spanish guy talks about it, but he does it in Spanish, and the joke is that Peter knows Spanish too, and then he makes a joke about the daughter. And the only time it felt maybe a little bit much was maybe at the Chinese food because he basically winks at her and like walks away, and it's like, ugh. And then he's like, I think he LARPs you. So that was maybe a bit much. But I think they did it enough where it didn't feel like, oh, you got a sexy hand, and then they like understand their humor, you know. So like, it's, you know, for me, it didn't feel too forced. That's what I like to do. Like, I felt most of the humor, like it wasn't that forced. Like I mean, Spider-Man makes corny jokes, but it's
one of the
Spider-Man.
Parts that made me literally laugh out loud in the theater. And I'm glad that I saw it with not a lot of people in the theater because I actually did not talk during this movie, strangely enough.
Yeah, I would have thought you would have, to be honest.
I think I made one comment through the whole movie, and it was at this part because I was just like, oh, that was great. It was when he's leaving the party and he sees the explosion in the distance, and he goes to web, but he's on the golf course.
Yeah.
And he's just like, ah, oh, damn it, like just starts running, and I was just like, yes, like, oh, I loved it because it's like I felt it was like a throwback to all the old video games when you could just web to the sky.
Yeah, well, I always thought that it was funny too because even when I've read like every Spider-Man comic, his house or like where he hangs out in New York, it's always in the suburbs when it's not at school. So I'm like,
and he's always able to like sit on a rooftop on these houses and still web up somewhere.
Yeah, that's what always perplexed me. So I love that there was that scene, and I think that's even a reference to a comic book too because someone sent me a picture of where he's just like webbing like on a street or something. And a kid's like, you want to borrow my big wheel? Like, as a joke, because he has nowhere to web to. So, even that was a comic book reference, which I liked. My favorite part, because I know there was one that I laughed out loud, too.
That was my favorite gag.
Yeah, it wasn't that. It was, what was it? Because I've seen it so many times, so now maybe the effects weren't off as much. What was it?
I also, while you're thinking, got to the part with the elevator. And the one girl starts falling and he webs her. And I was just like, broken neck.
He catches her by her wrist.
I know.
That was great though, right? When Karen tells her, this is your moment, Peter. Kiss her now.
Yeah,
and he's like, no.
Upside down, and he's just like, no.
That was good. But no, there was another moment. I can't remember what it was. It's killing me. It was really good. It was oh man. I can't remember now what it was.
Thanks, young Padawan.
I know. There were a lot of that's what I felt true about it though. Like a lot of people have said this and I agree so much is that the movie felt like it had real heart, whether being goofy or being sincere or just being Spider-Man. It felt like a true movie. Let
me ask you, what's your feeling on the absence of Uncle Ben?
Well,
they mention it in like the one-off line, like, "Oh, I won't put Aunt May through that." Not after all she's
do you know what it is though? I've seen it done terribly, and I've seen it done well, and this movie did it well because when you have like the Amazing Spider-Man and like how badly they
tried to remake.
They tried to flub it, or they tried not saying with great power,
line,
and how much it was just like forced. And this, he doesn't say that line, and. You know about Uncle Ben.
You can tell that he's thinking about it, especially when they're skipping to go to the pool.
No, well, not even like. But not even that. When his friend finds out and he says, "You cannot tell Aunt May. She's just been through so much." We already know exactly what he's talking about. The way I could see them doing it to be.
I don't think they're going to.
I think they could, but hear me out. This is just a theory. I think the way that they could do it to make it. Again, you don't have to reiterate the whole origin, but I think the way that they could do it to make it still fresh, because I think people because hardcore fans they want to see who Uncle Ben is. They want to because that's no, but this is the thing though. This is the thing though too that people forget, because I forget this a lot too with the origin, and that's what Sam Raimi got so right, is that Peter is very selfish. Mm-hmm. Or he was when he first became Spider-Man.
Yep.
He did
not. Do you
not.
think they're gonna do the wrestling thing?
Well, I mean, people still wrestle. Wrestling is still a thing. So I mean, it's not outdated like the circus. You know, like you can still make it work. But honestly, like, he has that costume. He made it for a reason, you know, in that
The
style.
costume, by the way, I thought was a great throwback. It
To
reminded
Ben
me of
Reilly.
Ben Reilly. Yeah.
Did you hear me say it earlier? I said he was in the Ben Reilly costume.
Oh, no.
Even concept art looked closer to what
Right.
the actual Ben Reilly designed.
Yeah.
But here's my thing, though. So people forget that he was selfish and that he went out of his way to just want to make money and, you know, get money for the family and but, you know, do it for fame and fortune, not to be a superhero. And it was only after Uncle Ben died that he then decided to then, you know, become the hero. So when, I mean, granted, the movie is very great, but when you're seeing him just being Spider-Man, you know, it's the same thing when Peter just said, or when Tony asked him, you know, why do you do what you do? It's like, well, you know, the little guy always gets stopped on, and I, you know, didn't like seeing that. In a sense, it's almost like Captain America saying, I don't like bullies. But Captain America is Captain America. He does it because he's Captain America. But Peter does it because of guilt. That's part of his whole origin.
Yeah.
But I say the way that they could do it to make it seem fresh, to make it really like bounce, is you do a movie where, you know, it doesn't have, those two stories don't have to be connected, but there's similarities between them. Like something's happening where he's facing a villain and he's having a rough time of it, and something is not clicking, and he goes back to why he does what he does, and it goes back to Uncle Ben, and then it'll go forward in time. It's sort of like how in this movie they have Tony say to him, if you're nothing without the suit, then you don't deserve it. And then he's there under the rubble, and he sees half the mask and half his face. Another great comic book.
Yeah.
And then he hears the line in his head, and then it comes back, and then he lifts the wall up from
That's
himself.
straight out of a comic book.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying, though, is like, do something like that, where you're seeing the origin, but you're seeing it done in flashback while the main story is going on, and he's facing a new villain. I think they could do it that way and still make it seem fresh. So that way it appeases fans who want to see who the new Uncle Ben is and see what the actual origin is in this universe. We know what it is, but like, make it enough where we understand why he made the costume and why he does what he does, not just like, oh, I have to help the little guy. Even
They're
if
actually thinking of renaming Uncle Ben Martha,
no.
just so when we see the flashback, there's oh wait.
All right. Is there any other BVS jokes you want to get out of your way? I mean, while
I'll
we're
think
here,
of more later.
you'll think of more later. So
Yeah.
I want to make sure. Do we have them all out? I mean,
No,
are we done?
No. We're never done.
We're never done.
We're never done.
Okay.
But
But see, like, okay, so like BVS, if we want to give a great example, yes, Zack Snyder redid the
Waynes.
But you know what he did? He did it right out the gate.
Yeah.
He got it done.
Opening credits.
We see everything we need to see. We see him go through. We basically see a combination of Batman '89 and Batman Begins origin, because he falls in the cave. He sees his parents'
Don't
death.
waste time doing it during the movie. They do it
Exactly.
right, like, opening
And then
credits,
boom, he goes
there
up
we
into
go.
the light in his little world, because that's to
And
him
then
that's
we skip 30 years, 40 years later,
and now he's
there we
Batman.
go.
And then and we don't know what happened in between, but we know that he has become Batman at some point in his career.
How many times have we seen an origin? We don't need to see the origin.
Yeah, but see, Snyder found at least a way to like get it done. It's very cinematic and it's out of the way, and yeah, you know Batman. I don't need to retell you Batman, but there you go. So I'm saying
Wait, Batman is Bruce Wayne? Sorry.
Anyway, but yeah, no, just do something like that, or do like what I was saying, like have it be connected to like a main story. Don't have it be like the villain who killed Uncle Ben is now
have it
the
organically, like with the plot and what's actually going on, instead of just being like, here's the background.
yeah,
like,
and not something stupid like where like the villain that killed Uncle Ben is now like the Scorpion
Oh,
or something.
shut up.
Yeah, no, or now the Sandman.
Scorpion.
Yeah.
Jack Gargan is in it, and
Mhm.
I was like, oh, they mentioned his name, and then you see him, and he's got a scorpion neck tattoo, and I was just like, oh, come on.
Hey, you know what though?
I know.
I don't really know much about Matt Gargan anyway, so it's fine. That actor, by the way, is good. He can play menacing. He's on Breaking Bad.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's on Breaking Bad.
Yeah, he's a fine actor, and honestly, like you're telling me that he's not gonna find the Tinkerer, and Tinkerer's not gonna make him like a scorpion suit, like
Well, he was already looking to buy gear from them, so you know
Boom.
why is he gonna stop?
exactly. So yeah.
So while we're speaking of villains, Vulture.
Oh yeah. So let's talk about Michael Keaton.
Yes.
All right, you know what, I'm a Batman fan, so do you mind if
Go
I go
ahead.
in? Okay, so
Take the helm.
I love Michael Keaton, and I don't mean just like, you know, Batman. I mean,
If you love him so much, why didn't you marry him?
all right, there, Pee-wee. Anyway, but the But Michael Keaton is, to me, like, he's a cool dude, and I've been seeing him, like, slowly been, like, like, he was on the verge of coming, like, on a big comeback, and then, Birdman happened, and I was like, yes, there he is, like, there's Michael Keaton that I've been wanting to see, like, for a long time, and, like, you know, I've always been a Michael Keaton fan since I was a kid, just because of, just with Batman alone, but, like, I'm like, okay, he's the Vulture. Like, okay, let's see what they do with this character. Like, how are they going to approach it? And he's great, like, almost right off the bat. Like, you see his origin, but they've made him identifiable.
That's what I was going to say.
Three-dimensional.
The best thing about what they did with his, like, the villain that he became is you can identify with where he's coming from, because he's trying to rebuild after, like, the Chitauri attack,
or rework his business,
and he's trying to, like, build himself back up to, like, build up the place, clear out, do the construction work. He hires new crews. It's like, this is his big moment, and then the government comes in, and Stark comes in. They're like, oh no, goodbye. And he's
pretty
like,
much.
Well, what the hell? I gotta do something else.
And the funny thing is you can understand the other side too, because you're like, well, it makes sense because Avengers want to be, in control of where this shit goes. They don't want it for the exact reason that the Vulture uses it, But at the same time, he got fucked over. His company got fucked over. And that guy's like, well, maybe you should have planned ahead of time. And gets punched right in the fucking face. And you don't really feel bad that guy got punched in the face.
Like something that would really happen.
I know, and that's what's great.
The thing. It's not just like he randomly decided to make a Vulture suit.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, well, I need to do something to save myself and, like, get this business started.
And there's just even like the moment, like, where he's still technically building up time to, like, attack Spider-Man, but he's just like they don't care about us. Like, we live off their scraps. Like, that's us.
The car scene, I loved it when he's dropping them off at Homecoming, and I loved it because it's a nitpick that I've had with every superhero movie, except for, like, Batman, because he does the whole, like, I'm gargling marbles voice. When he's just like, oh, like, have we met before? Your voice sounds real familiar.
Yeah.
And then it, like, dawns to him, and he's like, oh, I'm gonna have a talk to him.
That's why I wasn't so angry either now that they're having Batman have, like, the voice
modulator.
Because it makes more sense. It makes way more sense.
It's always like, how many times do you hear somebody's voice?
Yeah. In reality, or not reality, but in the comics, Bruce Wayne is supposed to be this, master of disguise and everything too, and the real him is that voice, and so Bruce Wayne is like the disguised voice. Yeah, and that they use that much more well done with the animated series. But in reality, an actor can only do so much, and Ben Affleck is not Daniel Day-Lewis.
But I still like that where.
But yeah, it makes sense anyway.
It made it, in the realm of fiction, it made it seem more real.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's met him a couple times with the mask on, and he's heard him talk and everything.
Yeah.
And he just like is like, well, he has this like, met before. Seem familiar.
The funny thing too is that in the Ultimate Comics, because it was like a 15-year run, and I think like I want to say like 3 or 4, maybe 5 years go by in the timeline. But like that being said, it's an on-running joke that Peter cannot keep his identity secret for the life of him because.
And then when he tried to use the voice modulator, then Prowler's just like, "I've heard you talk before. This isn't how you talk."
Yeah.
What do you mean? This is my voice. And he's just like, "No, it isn't."
Okay.
Like,
I want to talk about that too because he uses this voice. He uses the Batman voice on Flash Thompson.
Yeah.
When he's on his car. And I want to talk about Flash Thompson because you and I made this joke when we saw that he was cast as Flash Thompson, and we're like, this kid's a decent actor, but this isn't Flash Thompson. Flash Thompson is a jock.
He's the Aryan jock boy.
Yeah, who beats up.
Blonde hair, blue eyes.
Yeah.
So
what is this guy doing playing Flash Thompson? And then you see that.
Well, they had needed to check off all of their diversity checkboxes.
Yeah, there is that. No, there is that. I agree with you, but I liked it though because. One, they make it a point right away that Peter's not in a regular high school. He's in a like science school that is like for special, smart kids. So right off the bat, that jock stereotype cannot exist in that version of that school. So they make a point as to why that's like that. Two, like he goes off being more of like the spoiled rich kid
Yeah.
who's like a piece of crap to anyone who doesn't have
the
a
DJ at the party.
yeah, penis Parker, penis Parker, penis Parker, like when they're doing this. But like he's the new version of like the douchebag bully. But it works. Like it shouldn't, but it works. And
He's
like
also
it makes
still an idiot.
yeah, he's still an idiot, and it makes sense. So it's not portraying the character, and it's not just like he's just this now. It's like no, like it actually makes sense to the structure that they built for the story. That's what I liked about it. On that note,
Back to Vulture.
okay,
We
Vulture.
were
Yes,
talking
that's right. Sorry. But yeah, like everything dealing with Vulture's character. Sorry, and just his whole thing with how three-dimensional he is. Like, and the minute he enters too, like I saw the promos for like the suit and stuff in the trailer, and I was kind of like, I don't know if I'm really
I
feeling
like
it.
that they made it so you can like detach it quick.
Oh, that's
'Cause
good.
That
Yeah.
was the warning. The first thing when I saw the suit, like the giant wings, and I was just like, how is he gonna walk around in that?
Yeah.
I was imagining him trying to like rob a bank with like these giant wings on.
But
him,
what
and
I
was
really
just
like, though-
do they fold up.
But I
Like,
really like though too is because when they're fighting on like the beach and stuff, he's almost like Doc Ock in the way that he
he
controls the
controls,
wings.
like the feathers.
Yeah,
to be, like,
they can just
claws
they can
that
just
you pick up.
grab,
Yeah.
and it's great. And like the suit felt natural though; it looked great in motion, and it's a very simple design. Like he has a flight jacket, and he's got like the puffy neck, so it looks like it does from the comics in
Yeah.
that way. But he's just a regular working schmo thief.
I love that they did not kill him.
Oh, thank
That
God!
was my
Yeah,
biggest fear when I saw
I
him
thought-
going up and he blew up. I was like, no, like what are you doing?
yeah.
Like the biggest thing I hate with Marvel is they always make a good villain
And then they kill him. Or they make a bad villain and kill him, and then they...
I'm more upset about the good villains.
No, I am. But yeah, Ironmonger was
I want
cool.
Purple Man back.
Purple Man's gone. Ironmonger... Ironmonger... Jeff Bridges made Ironmonger way cooler than he was in the comics,
Yeah.
and they kill him. What was another one?
Well, Red Skull. Where's Red Skull?
Well, Red Skull wasn't killed. Red Skull was put into purgatory.
Who knows?
I don't know exactly, but yeah. And then Loki, thank God, finally got good by Avengers, and then like they overuse him now, and it's like maybe we shouldn't do that. Maybe we should make other good villains. We have villains over here at Marvel, right? Well, we do. Oh, but most of them are X-Men villains. Okay, well let's see what else do we have here.
We can use Galactus. Oh wait,
We can use Doctor Doom. We can use Moment. We could, you know what?
let's just go with Dormammu.
What about that?
Bring him
What
back.
about that kid in the red pajamas? He's got a lot of robes. What about him? Oh, it's Sony. Okay, let's make a deal with Sony.
Make a deal.
Their versions of that character are terrible. Let's bring him back. But yeah, honestly, thank God that we're getting villains that can be utilized
especially
and used
like
well.
then when you see him at like the end scene when he's in the prison,
Mm-hmm.
and Gargan comes up to him all like disfigured, being like,
Hey, I have
"Oh."
friends on the outside that want to slit his throat. Like, hey, he might have
I
already.
love that he played it off cool too, because he's like, if I knew who he was, he'd be dead.
Yeah,
Instead of just being like, oh, I know him.
yeah.
Like,
Or no, if I knew him, he already would be dead.
Yeah,
or
that's
or
whatever the line
yeah.
was.
No,
No one else
I was gonna say there's another variation of it. It's like if I knew who he was, you think he'd still be alive or something like that. But yeah,
I'm just glad they didn't spill the beans right away.
no. But that's the thing though too, and they make that three-dimensional. Is that he honestly he hates Peter in a sense, but he also
He
knows
respects him a little bit. You can tell that in like the car scene.
because he
doesn't just
saved
shoot
his
him in the
he
face
saved
right there.
he saved his daughter.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, I can't, in all good honor, I can't kill you, but I can fucking warn you and to stay the fuck away from my business. And I just saved your life, Peter. What do you say? Thank you. Okay, get out of my fucking car. When he took the gun out, man. But that was the biggest worry that I had going into this, because honestly, dude, like, and you know this is one of the biggest complaints. Like, a lot of the Marvel villains do not feel threatening. Like, I mean,
They feel
look,
like one-off villains.
yeah,
They're-
one-off
they're-
villains that are just there and then they're gone. Even
Yeah.
fucking Ronan there, who was like almost a god, fucking dance off and then he's dead. And it's like, okay, cool, I guess. But yeah, like he felt like a real threat, which is what I've always wanted, because, like, especially with Spider-Man villains, because Doc Ock and Green Goblin were real threats. They felt threatening to a certain extent. And then, you know, the Amazing Spider-Man versions of these other characters were just like, eh. So I'm like, please give me a good Spider-Man villain again, and they did, and so I was like, good. And not only that, they're building up the other villains already.
Fingers crossed for Tom Hardy.
Well, I don't know what to say about Venom. I don't know what the fuck they're doing. Maybe he'll be introduced in Infinity War?
No. They've already said that the Spider-Verse is completely separate from the MCU.
But it's like, is it separate in like the sense of like? 'Cause what I got the gist of it was that
They
it was.
said that Spider-Man is not appearing in them.
No. I understand that, but I'm saying is the way that they said it. It sounded like it was separate in the sense of like how like the Defenders universe is separate, but not really separate. It's in their universe, but it's not. Like you're not going to see Defenders in an Avengers movie, or vice versa. Do you know what I'm saying? No. It's fine. Sorry, the computer just blacked out for a sec. Anyway, but
You're bringing too much. It blacked out.
yeah. But yeah. Honestly, I think what's gonna happen, or I think what Marvel's doing is they're just gonna let Sony do their thing, and then if the movies bomb and fail, they'll just stop doing it, and then Marvel will just make their versions and say like, yeah, those movies don't count. Basically, I think that's what they're waiting to do.
Remember
And
that Eric Bana Hulk movie? We don't either.
yeah, you remember that one with Lou Ferrigno and that guy we don't remember who played Thor? That doesn't exist.
I loved that old movie though. It was so cheesy but great.
I love Lou Ferrigno Hulk. I think a lot of people did. However, Thor Ragnarok, like that's the new version of that movie, pretty much, and I can't wait, and that's gonna be great. Anyway, I'm trying to think. Okay, so let's go back to nitpicks because obviously Michael Keaton, amazing, didn't die, will be cool when whatever movie they use in the future, probably Sinister Six. Can't wait for that. But let's talk about MJ or Michelle. Because I know that was your second nitpick, if not your first.
I'm 50-50 on it, because...
Yeah.
Why...
Okay, so here's the
She
thing.
seems like a dirty, artsy chick.
Can I be honest with you? So here's my two things. And again...
Like, I don't care if they make her MJ, but... Is her name not going to be Mary Jane?
No. So here's what I know from what Kevin Feige has said. He has said that she is a MJ, but she's not the MJ. But that does not mean to insinuate that, that she and Peter won't date because she's an MJ. That means potentially that they will get together. But she's not Mary Jane Watson. She's just MJ, which that's fine with me, honestly. I mean, it doesn't bother me so much with Liz Allen because Liz Allen, doesn't have an iconic look. Like I can't picture Liz Allen in my head other than being like a blonde, like plainly drawn girl in the comics. But she had no real personality other than like standing up for Peter occasionally or getting in his way or doing something, or having like, she was one of like his first crushes.
I also feel like this MJ was such a useless character.
She was, and that was my other big nitpick.
She had, like,
I knew
lines, but they were just like.
I knew that you were watching it though would feel the same way that I did because the more I watch her, and every time I watch her, she's not like a bad person. She's not like a bad person, but her character doesn't do anything.
She really has like the scenes that she's in. She has like one line, and then she's just like.
All she does in the entire.
Where are you going, Peter? What are you hiding?
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I don't care.
Yeah, but the whole movie.
Thanks for your fucking input, chick.
Yeah, she doesn't add anything. She just makes a joke, or she gives him a finger at prom, like the middle finger.
Yeah.
She
at the Washington Monument. She's like, I don't want to visit something made by slaves.
That was funny.
Cool.
I legitimately thought that was funny because she's obviously black, but I just thought that was kind of funny.
She's black? Oh,
yeah.
I'm kidding.
Oh God.
You said she's obviously black. Okay.
Oh my God. All right, look, point being is that there was, okay. She says, you guys are losers. And Genki's like, Ned is like, well then why do you sit with us? Because I have no friends. Cool, I guess. Thanks for letting us know. Later, they're at Liz's party. Like, can't believe you losers came to this party. You're at this party. Am I? And it's like, what? It's like forcing this character to trying to be funny.
They just tried to insert her.
Yeah, she doesn't have any purpose other than being there. She has no other purpose than being in these random scenes. The only thing she does.
It would have felt better if they just found
Yeah.
her video like on a hacked into a
The only thing she
laptop
does. The only thing she does in the whole movie is make the reference to the fact that the Washington Monument could have been made by slaves, and she wins them to the decathlon, and that's it. That's all she does in the entire movie.
Doesn't add anything.
She doesn't add anything. Liz added more to the movie by at least being somewhat of a love interest to Peter. She doesn't have a lot of substance so much because
she's a very one-dimensional character.
Yeah, but we know why she exists because doing Liz Allen for one, because Liz Allen was like one of his first crushes to be comic book reference, but the fact later that she's Vulture's daughter, that's the twist. And don't worry, I'll be posting spoilers tags on this. So that's the point. And it's great because I know that I was shocked by that. I know many people in my theater were shocked by that. Were you shocked by that when you watched the movie?
I don't know if I was shocked. I thought it was a weird twist.
Yeah.
It was definitely a wrench that I didn't see coming.
But I liked it though, because that also is very evocative.
That scene where he's there, standing there, and especially because he's like, "Oh, hey Pete, what's up?" And it's just
and he just keeps staring at him the whole time, and his daughter.
Works. Once again, it's one of those shock moments that kind of works organically because
it does.
He's meeting the dad for the homecoming date, and so therefore.
You could say he's nervous, but we know why he's really nervous.
Michael Keaton's playing it off. He's like, "Oh, he's nervous." He's like, "Oh yeah, you're taking my daughter out, huh? Like, ho ho, like."
Yeah.
And you're nervous about it, but then he's actually realizing that the main villain is the daughter of the chick he likes.
Yeah. Well, that's what but I liked it too because it did feel organic to the comics because the more you've read Spider-Man comics, he somehow always has a relation with the villain.
Everyone?
Yeah, in one way or another. I think
New York was so small.
But I think there's even one comic where his dentist tries to kill him or something. It's just really random. It's just that's how comics are. But I liked it though because it felt organic and it felt real and it was both funny and terrifying and like I said, it led to one of the best tense scenes.
The car scene, yeah.
Well, I was saying we talked about her occasionally. I was reading about Gail Simone, and she had seen Spider-Man, and she was kind of mixed in the movie, but she said that he did feel great. She's like, I love Michael Keaton. She's like, I felt more tension in that car scene than I did on any scene watching in Age of Ultron, and I fully agreed with her.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So.
Well, especially once he starts to figure it out, he pulls the gun out.
Mm-hmm.
But he actually doesn't pull the gun on him.
He just puts it there.
Has it.
But
there.
Peter knows that that's there.
Yeah, but that's what I liked is that he still tried to keep it calm.
Yeah.
But menacing.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of immediately pulling the car over and pulling the gun on him or something stupid.
Mm-hmm. It was really good. All right, back to nitpick. I know why they didn't do it, or they didn't insinuate it as much, but the spider sense. Everyone was like, he doesn't have spider sense in this movie, and I'm like, no, he has spider sense, they just don't make it a big spectacle like they did in the other two movies. It's there.
They said it's there, but they just didn't want to make it a focus of one of the powers that he has.
Yeah.
So he has it, they just didn't want to make it a focus.
But you can tell that he has it because of how fast he reacts and how fast he moves.
Especially when the guys are robbing the ATM.
Oh yeah, he definitely has it there. He's literally jumping from wall to wall.
That whole fight scene, the guys are he's hanging upside down, and the guy tries to punch him, and he's just dodging left and right, and he's fighting him. You can tell that he has the super spider sense there.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not like in the animated series where he's got the inverted colors and going around his head.
Or in the first movie where he's slows time and he sees
his bullet time,
yeah.
And he sees the fly flapping slowly.
Yeah. But the thing was, and someone has said this and I agree with them, you can tell that the Marvel Studios and the writers, they literally went over and looked at probably the animated series, probably the films, and they're just okay, what haven't we seen in an actual movie yet that they haven't been able to utilize? Okay, high school setting. Don't overdo spider sense. Don't do MJ. Don't do Gwen Stacy. Do something that's close to what the actual comics were. What was one of the first girls he actually liked?
San Diego Comic-Con is happening right now, and with it, they've already described the trailer for Infinity War.
I haven't read it. Here's the thing. Well, they did the they did the they I
Let me
think
just say that.
they did the footage at D23. They haven't released anything yet at San Diego Comic-Con.
Oh, maybe it was D23.
Yeah,
then.
D23.
Yeah, that's
They
right,
might
that's
release
right,
something in
that's right.
San Diego, and then we might see it online. So I don't want to spoil it for myself. They probably
Okay.
won't. They probably won't be showing exactly what they showed at D23, but they will probably show a trailer for Infinity
All
War.
I will say is that the Spider Sense is not disappeared,
Yeah. Here's what I know.
but they do it well.
Here's what I know is that the Russo brothers are doing Infinity War, so it's a different director, a different take, and different writers doing it. So they're probably going to use different aspects of Spider-Man while trying to remain true to the tone of what they've already established. That's my theory on that.
I have not seen the video yet, but from what I read,
I've been wanting to read the descriptions, but I don't want to spoil myself. I'd rather just
I will
see
still
it.
say that it is not inverted spider sperm.
I've heard that basically everyone just lost their goddamn minds
Yes.
once they saw everything. Yeah, I mean,
From the description that I read, it seems awesome.
I imagine you will be very pleased. Me, meanwhile, still waiting on Crisis on Infinite Earths as a DC fan. But hey, I'll probably enjoy Infinity War in all its glory as well. What I'm wondering is how they're going to do this scene when he's all mighty and powerful, and then Adam Warlock walks up to him and says, "You don't want this power," and he's like,
Adam
"Oh,
Warlock's
you're
not
right."
in it.
Huh? No, I know.
Oh.
I'm making a joke about the actual comic book
Okay.
and how it ends.
Oh, okay.
You should know these things, KJ.
I do know how it ends, but that's what I was just saying. Is that
You know what's intriguing?
Aren't in it,
You know what's intriguing
which is going to be interesting how they
yeah.
do that type of stuff.
Well, they'll figure something out. But what I'm interested in, what's really intriguing, is that if you've seen any of the statues, which I know you have,
Oh yeah,
they have Thanos in regular, like not.
That's the thing I said to you immediately when I
But
sent
he
you the
looks-
picture, and I was like,
but
he's not wearing the armor.
Yeah, but he looks like he does at the end of Infinity Gauntlet, which is like farmer, like self-exile Thanos, and not like full armor.
Yeah.
I'm ready to kick some ass Thanos, which is interesting. So
I'm sorry, I got us sidetracked. We should go
Yeah.
back to Spider-Man.
okay, well let's finish up Spider-Man and just
Closing thoughts.
our. I mean, honestly, dude, I thought as far as like dude, honestly, like I loved Wonder Woman, and I still think it's one of the best superhero movies of the year. But this was like just as good, if not better. Like I was floored by this movie because I expected it. I felt this way exactly the way I felt about Avengers. Like I wanted it to be good. I heard great reviews, but I went in with limited expectations.
Yeah.
I didn't want to overdo it myself because I've seen Spider-Man so much, and I still love Spider-Man, and I wanted it to be good. So I was like, okay, just go in. If it meets this, and this, I'll say it's good, and I'll be satisfied. And it actually went above and beyond what I expected it to actually do. Like it really did please me on multiple levels, not just as a Spider-Man movie, but as an actual film about a kid in high school.
That's why I gave it a 9.5 out of 10. Because
Yeah.
it was a great movie, but as a Spider-Man movie, I still think Spider-Man 2 is better.
That's fair. That's fair
Um,
because I think Spider-Man 2 is much more. It got the aspect of Spider-Man's life is much more depressing than we remember. This one I don't think wanted to do that. I think its goal was to make it fun again.
My biggest thing with this one is makes me so much more excited for the next one. And they didn't do a lot of. They did the Easter egg stuff, but they didn't do a lot of build up for the next one.
Well, they did and they didn't, but they did the right
They
amount.
introduced some of his
No,
villains.
no,
and
but what I'm
side
saying is-
characters, but they didn't set it up. They didn't.
But that's what
they
I loved
didn't do
about
a
it,
scene
though.
Where they're walking past.
Oh, I know.
cases
But that's
of-
what. No,
of
I
Doc
know.
Ock
I know.
and Vulture in
Oh my
cases
God.
and, like,
Yeah.
Oscorp Labs type of setup.
But that's what I loved about it, though. Like I told you, like with both the Tony Stark and the way that they converge it into the MCU, neither one is ham-fisted. Like they give everyone kind of like the right amount of time that they need to be in
Going
the
back to
movie.
Tony Stark, I'm so glad that a lot of the scenes that we saw in the trailer, that was pretty much all.
Yeah,
I was so worried he was
he's
going to
be
do a lot
overdone, and
more.
they're just like, okay, we get it. Like,
He had like
You're
the
Iron
3 or
Man.
4 scenes that he's there, and you saw
Mhm.
those in the trailers, and I was like, all right, I've got my Iron Man fixed.
but what I liked about it though was that they didn't, because one of the issues I've always had with the comics that always bothered me. Granted, there's probably better
that
examples.
nobody shows up when
No one ever helps him out when he needs to get helped out. That's what I've always been bothered by in the comics. But they make a point in this one like where he's, the ferry's been blown up.
Well, Daredevil can't hear boats.
Shut
for
up,
some reason.
shut up. But the ferry gets blown up, and he's just like listening. He's like yelling at Tony, and he's like, "You don't even listen to me. That's why this happened." And he's like, "Who do you think called the FBI, you idiot?" And then it's like,
Yeah.
okay, thank God. So like at least they tried to make a point that like, no, we do listen to you, buddy. You just need to just not try
Listen
and
to us.
yeah, you need to listen to us sometimes and not try to solve everything by yourself, even though you want to.
Do you think the end when Tony's about to introduce Spider-Man to the press and everything? Do you think that was a throwback to Fantastic Four when they finally invited him to join the Fantastic Four and he turned him down?
I don't know
Remember,
about that.
In Spider-Man, old school Spider-Man, he always turned to the Fantastic Four for help, not Tony Stark. He always turned to the Fantastic Four, and he wanted to join them.
Well, in the original, in the first one, right, in the first issue, he wanted to join them, and then they
turned him down a bunch of times.
Yeah.
And then finally, they asked him, be like, "Oh, hey, do you want to join up?" And he was just like, "Oh no, no thanks. Like I'm good now."
Okay.
And then
he does.
and then 25, 30 years later,
he did
joins
join
up.
Yeah. But that was the John Hickman run, and it was great. Yeah. And John Hickman knows Marvel. Anyway. I didn't know that he actually got turned down. I mean, I knew he got turned down by the Fantastic Four. I didn't know that they actually wanted actually let him join the team in the older comics at some point, or wanted him to join. Other than what I read of like the modern Marvel, I'm still catching up on a lot of the older Marvel stuff too. So bear with me on that. Probably. I mean, that would make sense for sure.
It's either that or it's a throwback to Civil War when he unmasks himself.
That's what I was really, really worried about. But I was like, please let Peter turn this down and let him just go back to being Spider-Man because that's what we want to see, and he did, and I was like, good. But I still loved it though because one of my favorite characters.
Do you think Tony proposed to Pepper?
I don't know, probably. I think they're trying to also wrap up Iron Man. To be honest with you, if they're not going to kill him off in Infinity War, I think they're trying to. Because I think
reason to leave.
I think what they're doing, to be honest with you, and a lot of people have said this to me, and I kind of agree because I didn't really think about it too long because I just assume they just keep building and building and building. I think what they're doing with their actors is at some point they're going to either, depending on what they want to do with their contracts, they're going to have Thanos like murder a bunch of them. And then the new heroes that they're building up, like Black Panther and Spider-Man and Captain Marvel, and those characters are going to take over the Avengers. And then if the heroes ever want to come back at some point, depending on what the actors want to do or the contracts, if they come back
they'll have to talk to Benedict Cumberbatch and make a bargain.
But if they come back as a different actor, the audience will know, but the others might not because how it works. So that's how I see them doing it, if that's what they want to do. As far as what was I saying? Because we were talking about Iron Man and Pepper.
That was just a joke.
No, but I think
it was a joke in the movie, and I don't think that's actually.
I don't know the fact with like the ring and everything, but I think I liked how they used Pepper Potts being in that because I've always liked her character. I liked her only really though in like the first half of Iron Man 1 when she was a capable person, and then they made her like more like Gwyneth Paltrow by the end of the and then I didn't care for her anymore. Which is thank God for Wonder Woman. Anyway, that being said, yeah, I'm glad that Peter. This is the thing because one of my favorite fictional characters from the '80s is Marty McFly, and I don't know if you got it, but I got a huge Marty McFly vibe from Peter Parker. Not even just the whole like John Hughes aspect, which he really nailed down too, but he was very meta about it.
Poster, right?
Oh yeah, no, they've done a few. They've done one where he's done like Ferris Bueller, and they've done the Breakfast Club one.
Oh, the Ferris Bueller joke was the other thing I commented.
Yeah,
I started laughing out loud in that.
The meta, because he's going through the.
I turned to my buddy who was seeing the movie with me, and when he's running through like the backyards, I turned over and I was like, "It's totally Ferris Bueller."
And then it goes right to Ferris Bueller.
Movie, and he goes, "Oh, great flick!" And I died because I said it like right as it like happened, and I was just like, "Oh my god!" Like, sorry.
Okay, so this might have been the moment that I laughed out loud the most, even though it was a small moment. It was one, or at least it was one of the moments that I thought was the funniest. Was when he's doing that, and the suit is malfunctioning when he's going through, and then he gets up and there's two girls in the tent. He's like, "Oh, hi, girls," and then
they're all twitching.
That was almost like a Deadpool type moment, almost like he's just trying to get the hell out of there without getting killed or shot at.
No, immediately, like once he was like, he's running through, like, "Oh, smells good." I was just like, "That's
Ferris Bueller."
Like, Ferris Bueller did like the same thing.
Yeah.
Like,
I almost feel it would have been better had they not shown that clip with it, but because it's meta, it kind of worked.
I thought it was perfect.
Yeah.
I thought it was great. Like that's like obviously anybody seeing that sequence of events is gonna think Ferris Bueller.
But
and
you know
then
what?
He runs past the movie playing Ferris Bueller. Goes, oh, great flick! And it's like, all right,
it worked
cool.
though too, I think, because like our generation gets it, but like the 15-year-olds who are watching it might not know that movie, and so when they see that Peter Parker knows,
They
they're
got
like,
good parents. They will.
yeah, they'll be like, well, what movie were they watching there? And they'll be like, oh, let me show you, and then they show them Ferris Bueller.
Let me teach you the correct way to skip school.
Also, fun fact. I found this out recently because I was looking at a lot of the songs that are used in the movie.
What I do?
Oh no, sorry. Okay, don't touch anything. Just don't. Okay, sorry. Just touching the computer. It's fine. The song that's used at the prom is a song. It's a Flock of Seagulls song, and it's also used in Career Opportunities, which is a teen movie written by John Hughes. Oh, and it stars Jennifer Connelly, who voices Karen in the Spidey suit. So it's actually very good with its references.
The more you know, star.
Oh, another Easter egg you might have missed. When he is talking to Happy for the first time, or when he finally gets through to Happy, and he's telling him about like the weapons and everything, and Happy's not really listening and everything, and he's sitting on a lamppost. You'll see like graffiti on the back. It says Bagley, which is a reference to Mark Bagley, who drew the ultimate.
I did not see that.
Yeah, it's very like I only
That's a Thor bill.
I caught it the second time I watched it because I already had heard about it. But it's Mark Bagley who drew.
But then again, why is Stark holding Thor's magic strength building belt?
I don't know, but maybe we'll find out on Thor Ragnarok. Maybe he had him hold it for him. Who knows? I don't know. But then again,
why?
Yeah, the guy who made Ultron.
Why would he leave it on Earth ever?
Why would he leave it to Tony, who made Ultron? That's the real question. Maybe Tony stole it. I don't know. It's Avengers Tower. Maybe he just left it there. It was in his room or something, and they kept it for him. I don't know. Hopefully, we'll find out.
Anyways,
I think honestly that could play into Ragnarok because we've seen in the trailers his hammer gets destroyed by Hela, so maybe he uses the belt. Mm-hmm. Hard to say.
All right, so. Spider-Man: Homecoming, great flick. If you haven't seen it, go see it.
9.5.
If you haven't seen it, you probably just spoiled a lot of this.
Yeah, well, I mean, we were going to spoil
If you're one
everything.
of like the 5 people who listen to this.
But you would give it a 9.5, and honestly, I'd give it the same rating. It was pretty much perfect. I mean, I had their small nitpicks, but it's
not enough to destroy the movie, though.
It's a great Spider-Man movie.
It's a great movie, even if you're a comic book nerd or not. So
yeah. That's all we can really say about it. I'm looking forward to Infinity War, all the D23 stuff we talked about. I can't wait for San Diego Comic-Con to see what else we get revealed, as well as Justice League stuff. So
they did the Defenders, the weird, awkward one.
I saw it, and
Facebook,
it was it's the Punisher one at the end. Yeah. I saw. Can't wait for that as well. Trying to think of any other thoughts I had. I think that's it. So yeah, go see it. It's a great movie. One of the best. I think Spider-Man 2 is better in some ways, and I think Homecoming is better in other ways. I think they're both pretty much, great movies. Go see both if you want.
I'm not saying one is better than the other. I'm just saying I like one better than the other. That's the best way I can say it.
That's fair, man. I think this future Spider-Man movie should remember some of the darkness that the Raimi films got correct without making it too dark. Like that good balance. So, okay, guys. Have a good one.
Bye, everybody.